Today, we're going to expose Hakeem Jeffries for what he really is, a slick-talking partisan puppet master that is peddling division and deflection while the Democrat Party crumbles under his watch. But this morning, on CNN, that notorious echo chamber of leftist activism that is masquerading as journalism, something unexpected happened. In a rare flash of unfiltered honesty, anchor Pamela Brown called out Jeffries' blatant hypocrisy and lies. Not just once, but multiple times. And that's not all. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, she fires back at the media, shutting down their latest manufactured hoax, while the White House drops a major announcement that could change the autism conversation forever. All those headlines and much more right here on The Kerri Lane Show. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Now, Hakeem Jeffries went on CNN this morning thinking, he was just gonna spin his way out of trouble. Instead, he walked out exposed, humiliated, and desperate. Jeffries was pressed on President Trump's explosive Truth Social post that he did over the weekend, and then unbelievably ramped up the rhetoric about attacking our Supreme Court justices. But here's the shocking part. CNN actually stepped up today. They acted like journalists. They pushed back on Jeffries and they held the Democrats' feet to the fire. That alone should tell you just how outrageous his comments really were. So let's start with Trump's post where he ripped into the all talk, no action frustration that the American people demanding accountability for people like Letitia James, Adam Schiff, and James Comey are now feeling. So the president writing in part, quote, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now." And when CNN asked Jeffries for his reaction, you could practically see the panic set in. Watch this.
There is absolutely zero basis for Trump's Department of Justice to go after and prosecute Attorney General Tish James or James Comey or Senator Adam Schiff or Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook. No basis at all. This is all a political witch hunt being led by a president who is bent on revenge. And that statement that President Trump made initially is Exhibit A for why this is a malicious prosecution. And it would be my expectation that if, in fact, they can convince a grand jury to bring charges, which I don't believe they will be able to do, and if, in fact, you have attorneys violating their oath to actually administer justice in a fair and impartial way and indict these members, I believe any charges will be quickly dismissed and that everybody involved should be held accountable.
Zero basis? That's rich. Because these are the same Democrats who raided Mar-a-Lago, the same Democrats who indicted the president 5 times, and the same Democrats who turned the DOJ into a political weapon. And now with a straight face, Jeffries says there's zero basis to investigate his friends? Is anybody buying that? Now, there is proof with Letitia James that she committed mortgage fraud in 2021, misrepresenting her building to secure a $200,000 line of credit. That's a felony, my friends. 15 years in prison. And this isn't new. She once lied on a loan application listing her father as her husband. And she's the one who loves to preach, nobody is above the law. Adam Schiff, he double-claimed 2 primary residents, one in Burbank, California, and the other in Maryland. Again, that's fraud. Lisa Cook, caught claiming primary residence in 2 states for better loan rates. Ordinary Americans go to jail for much less. And then there's James Comey. He lit the fuse on the Russia hoax, dividing this nation for years. These aren't revenge cases, they're accountability cases. And they wouldn't even exist if Democrats hadn't first weaponized the justice system just to crush their political enemies. They wrote the rules, and now they can't stand the idea of having to play by them. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Jeffries flat out lied on national television. He claimed Tom Homan, the man who fought to secure our borders, was charged with taking a $50,000 bribe. But this time, CNN found its backbone.
If they want to prosecute or investigate anyone, start with Tom Homan and the fact that he appears to have taken a $50,000 bribe, but they want to sweep those charges under the table to allow this guy to continue to unleash mass ICE agents on the American people.
Just to follow up on that, just to be clear, Tom Homan has not been charged. And just to be clear, Tom Homan denies wrongdoing and says there's nothing to it.
CNN had to stop mid-sentence and fact-check him. No charges, no case, nothing. Jeffries just smeared a decorated official with a baseless lie because that's what Democrats do when they're cornered. And if Homan did this, There is no way the Biden administration would have sat on that. Here's Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt shutting down the story.
Does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong, and even the President's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the President stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This was just another attempt by Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats to manufacture just another hoax because they have nothing positive to run on. And the irony? Jeffries accused Trump of weaponizing the DOJ, and then in the next breath, he threatened to do exactly that himself. You can't make this up. But here's the part that should send a chill down everybody's spine. Jeffries openly threatened Republicans. He said once the Democrats regain power, they're going to make sure prosecutions happen again. Watch this.
You know, one thing to understand, as people who are flirting with the Trump administration or doing the bidding of the Trump administration or engaging in the pay-to-play schemes of the Trump administration, the statute of limitations is 5 years. Donald Trump and this toxic administration will be long gone, but there will still be accountability to be had. And that process, of course, begins now, but it will not be complete until perhaps there is an independent Department of Justice, certainly an independent House of Representatives in Democratic hands.
Independent in Democrat hands. Did you catch that? I mean, they don't even pretend anymore. To them, independent justice only exists when Democrats control it. That's not justice. That's dictatorship. And that's the word they love, so they should know all about it. And in a final act of desperation, Jeffries went after the Supreme Court itself, accusing conservative justices of making Trump a king. Once again, CNN stepped up and they actually called him out, asking if he was undermining trust in one of the most critical institutions in our democracy.
The Department of Justice is one of the great institutions in law enforcement in the history of this country, and Donald Trump and these extremists have been destroying its integrity. And we should also blame the conservative justices on the Supreme Court for all of the things that we see happening, because they basically gave this president blanket presidential immunity in a country where the framers of the Constitution said we don't want a king. But they've effectively enabled Donald Trump at times to behave just like a king. And that needs to be revisited as well. The Supreme Court, shame on them for what they've done to this country in unleashing this out-of-control behavior. That needs to be reversed.
Let me just follow up with you on that, though. By saying that, are you undermining trust and faith in a critical institution in this democracy?
Are you referring to the Supreme Court or the Trump
Supreme
administration?
Court. No, to the Supreme Court. You're saying, you know, they've unleashed this, the justices have done this, they made him king. Are you undermining faith in an important institution in this democracy?
No, what I'm undermining faith in is a decision that had no basis in the Constitution, no basis in law, and no basis in how the framers envisioned this democratic republic.
Think about that. Democrats accuse Trump of undermining institutions while Jeffrey himself goes on live television and torches the Supreme Court. That's like lecturing someone on a fire safety while holding a match to the curtains. And if Democrats ever get their power back, he just told you exactly what comes next: weaponized justice, silenced opposition, and absolute control. Now, Jeffries was pressed on a recent Reuters Ipsos poll showing that 62% of Democrats want their party's leadership replaced. He was asked if those numbers made him rethink his approach. From what we just saw, the answer is clearly no. But here's how he tried to spin it.
Well, I think I understand why people all across the country, not just Democrats, are disturbed by what has been happening in this country and the extremism that has been unleashed on the American people. And we are in what I have referred to often as a more is more environment. We just have to continue to do more, to aggressively push back against the Trump administration and push back in a manner consistent with American values.
So let me get this straight. Hakeem Jeffries thinks Americans are begging for more of what Democrats have already been doing. More political witch hunts, more lawfare. Wasn't that the same disastrous playbook they ran in 2024? We all saw how that one ended up. Now, I say keep it up because if that's the game plan, the left is heading for a political wipeout in 2026. And right now, Republicans are already holding the lead.
Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, oh, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime, a big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans? Look at that, lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Those tend to be the key issues that actually decide elections. And while Republicans are busy running up the scoreboard, Democrats can't even find the end zone.
Let's compare it back to 2022. I think this kind of gives away the game right here. Okay, the GOP is more trusted than the Dems on the economy. It was 12 points in 2022. Slight decline in that lead, but still 7 points. How about immigration? It was Republicans by 3 back in 2022. Look at this. The Republican lead's actually gone up by 10 points. What are you doing, Democrats? My goodness gracious. And on crime, the Republicans were up by 13, and now they're up by 22. The lead again expanding by nearly double digits. So whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working, Kate. It ain't working. Republicans have the lead on all three.
So the Democrats are losing on the economy, losing on immigration, and getting absolutely crushed on crime. At this rate, the only thing they're leading in is excuses. And speaking of the Democrats, in the immortal words of Jen Psaki, let's circle back. This time to Letitia James and those mortgage fraud accusations. Now on Friday, Eric Seibert, the top prosecutor overseeing the New York Attorney General's mortgage fraud case, suddenly resigned. This came shortly after President Trump called for his removal. Now sources say Seibert has been expressing doubt about the strength of the case. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, she was asked about it this morning, and she tore into Letitia James. Watch this.
Is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged?
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, and an appeals court tossed that case out.
And toss it out they did. The $5 million civil fraud penalty against Trump was thrown out in August. That was a win for the president, another embarrassment for James. Well, then Leavitt was pressed on why the president won't accept the findings of Eric Seibert.
The president has every right to express how he feels about these people who literally campaigned on trying to put him in jail, who literally tried to ruin his life and ruin his businesses, and he wants to see accountability for those who abuse their office and abuse their power. And Letitia James absolutely did that, whether you want to admit it or not.
Is that not retribution, though?
Jeff, it's accountability.
Democrats call it retribution, but for the rest of America, it's called justice. Letitia James promised to get Trump before she even had a crime. And now she's the one under investigation. That's not irony. That is karma with a subpoena. All right, let's turn our attention now to the big announcement made today. We're learning that there might be a link between Tylenol use in pregnant women and autism.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of acetaminophen, is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary.
Dr. Siegel explains very clearly the correlation here. Take a listen.
The issue here is that acetaminophen does, or Tylenol does pass the placenta into the fetus, and fetuses don't have a fully developed liver yet. And there have been studies in animals that have shown that that liver toxicity can lead to neurotoxicity, which could be on the spectrum to autism. So that's where the thinking is coming from for an association. It is not proof. Further study is needed, but let's notice that over half the women in the world take Tylenol during pregnancy because they don't want to take Advil or Motrin if they have pain or if they have fever, because those have clearly been shown to cause problems in the heart and the kidney and in the placenta. So Tylenol has been deemed safe, but this has been re-examined now, and it should be, actually. It should be looked at. It's not proven yet.
The president also calling for certain ingredients to be taken out of the vaccines.
We want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate, because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country.
I will have more on those latest developments for you as they unfold. Also making some news today, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, she's not messing around. Today, she announced charges against a teen accused of shooting a D.C. firefighter.
The 17-year-old today stands charged with armed robbery while possessing a firearm in violation of 22 D.C. Code, Section 4504. He is also charged with the possession of a firearm during a crime of violence, and he is charged with aggravated assault while armed. This case is going to be prosecuted in the D.C. Superior Court, where there is a mandatory minimum for these charges of 5 years. These out-of-control juveniles who think nothing of illegally possessing a weapon and holding up individuals are now going to find that they will be made accountable, that there will be consequences, and there will be no more coddling of young criminals.
Pirro's been very busy. She also brought charges against two 17-year-olds involved in the shooting of a Capitol Hill intern. And yes, these teens are all going to be charged as adults. Jeanine Pirro, she is bringing down the hammer in D.C. while the left, they continue to defend illegals over American citizens. That brings me to New York City. The mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani, is now promising to blow $100 million on legal aid for illegal immigrants. That's right, $100 million to make sure people in the country illegally have lawyers on call.
400,000 of our residents are right now in urgent risk of deportation. The city knows that when it provides legal assistance to those same New Yorkers, their chances of going home increase 11-fold. And yet it has only assisted fewer than 200 of those New Yorkers. That's why also a cornerstone of our campaign is a commitment to increase funding for those very legal defense services by more than $100 million so that we can ensure we're taking every step we can to keep New Yorkers safe, to keep New Yorkers together, and to show the world that they are welcome in this city.
Let that sink in. While law-abiding Americans worry about crime, the city wants to roll out the red carpet for people breaking the law. And speaking of clueless, Dana Bash over at CNN, she asked Chuck Schumer what it would take for him to support this socialist candidate. Schumer's answer? Classic bureaucratic dodge. Take a look.
I know him. We've had a good relationship in the past, and we had a good meeting 2 weeks ago, a very long meeting with a lot of serious questions. And all I can tell you is I'm going to continue talking to him.
What's the holdup?
I got to continue talking to him, and that's what I'm going to do.
Is part of the calculus that if you endorse a Democratic socialist, you're worried it will be damaging to your party, maybe even your chances of winning back the Senate?
I'm going to continue talking to him. Dana, you can ask me again.
They don't have any good ideas or answers, apparently. Hakeem Jeffries, not any better, tossing out this word salad.
Everyone makes those decisions on an individual basis in terms of their timing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that decision on an individual basis, consulting with other members of the congressional delegation and beyond here in New York, and then make the decision on timing. And it's a decision that's coming sooner rather than later.
When can we expect it?
Well, sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Jeffries talking like that is like watching a GPS recalculate every 5 seconds and still somehow driving you in circles. No leadership, no plan, just endless chatter. Let's hope there are repercussions at the ballot box in 2026. Now, for those of you that missed the viral moments being talked about from Charlie Kirk's memorial yesterday, I have that all in my next video. From the shocking moment between the president and Elon Musk to the chilling message Charlie's wife had for his alleged killer. Go ahead, click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.